Adam here from the Walser Automotive Group, and what I want to do today is take you on a test drive. So next to me here, I have the 2026 Buick Encore GX. We'll look at the interior, exterior, some of the trim level specifics, then go for a spin around, see what it's like out on the road. All right, so now we're behind the wheel of the 2026 Buick Encore GX. Now, this is the preferred trim level. So there's going to be 3 different trim levels when you're looking at the GX. We've got our preferred as kind of the base, Sport Touring, and then the Avenir. So if you're looking for a lot of equipment and luxury stuff, the top tier trim level Avenir is a really nice little luxurious vehicle. Now, we'll kind of focus on this one today, but the Sport Touring is kind of going to be more with the blacked out wheels and a little bit different appearance. So if you're feeling a little sportier, that might be the one to lean on. But I think the preferred, with a couple different packages that we have added into this one, makes it a pretty awesome little vehicle. A few other things would be updates for 2026, one of those being this new color. So this is the brilliant red on the exterior, and it does look really good. I think it meshes nicely with kind of the black with some of the white or gray piping or stitching that runs through here rather. It does look really good. The only other real big change they made is now an available 16-inch spare tire, so you can get that in the back of the vehicle. I know that's a question we get a lot, so that's really nice that this particular one does get that spare. So before we dig too much more into it, let's put it in drive, we'll go for a spin around, touch on some of the other features. What powers these Buick Encore GXs is a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. So not the most common thing out there, but we're starting to see more of them in the market now. And so there's going to be a couple different options. There's a 1.2 liter, and that's going to give you about 137 horsepower. Then there's a 1.3 liter. That one's going to be good for about 155 horsepower. So you don't notice too much of a difference. Really, for the most part, if you need that little bit of extra kind of zip to the vehicle, maybe bump up to the bigger motor and the other trim levels. But I think for 95% of the time, when I put my foot down, you kind of get that instant torque from the turbo, and I don't really miss too much of that power. I'd rather have the awesome fuel economy that this one's going to provide. Now, that being said, the front-wheel drive is going to be a little bit over 30 mpg, and this one being the preferred all-wheel drive, we're looking at 28 miles per gallon on the highway. That's pretty awesome for a vehicle that's not all that large, and yet it still gives you the all-wheel drive, so you get that sure-footedness, grip, and bite in the wintertime. Now, you can hear we came up to the stoplight. It's quiet in here. It's dead silent. So this does have the auto start stop feature. And then when I take my foot off the brake, we're off and cruising, and it really doesn't take that much, kind of lurching into the vehicle like some of the older ones. If you're maybe driving an older Buick or anything else that's got a little bit of that lurchiness to the start stop, they've really kind of coded or manufactured that out of these vehicles now, and it's a lot more smooth and it does help you out. Yet, if you don't like it, you can click the button and turn it right off down here by your knee. Now let's begin with the exterior a little bit more because, like I said, this is a new color for 2026, and I think it kind of fits the personality of this vehicle pretty well. It's kind of that sportiness to it, yet with the silver 18-inch wheels, it does have a really good look, and I think it's kind of a sharp-looking vehicle. Up front, you've got those LED headlights that run through, and then it's kind of got that daytime running light as kind of its little eyebrows, and it's a pretty sharp-looking little machine. I think they do some really good colors as well, so if you don't want the bright red, you kind of want to blend in a little bit more, there's certainly the option there for that. But I think for the most part, it's really fun on the road. We've kind of got a windy, fresh, tarred road here, and when you're buzzing around, it's pretty responsive. It really kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of as darty as it was, but not in a bad way. It just kind of point and shoot, goes where you want to go. And like I said, 95% of the time, if it's just you buzzing around in the car, you're going to work, picking up the kids, this actually even has pretty decent amount of room in the back of it. And yes, Buick does have the Envision, or if you want a little bit more space, you got the car seat, still need all that extra room. But when I hopped in the back, I'm 6'1". Where I was driving comfortably, I had headroom back there, I had a little bit of knee space, and I've also got USB and USB-C charging. So if you do got the kids, they probably have their devices with them, they can keep everything charged up when you're on the go. The storage space, kind of on that same vein in the back, is also not too bad. Obviously, it's a pretty small little SUV, but if you pop open the hatch, there's a decent amount of room, and you can even kick the seats down if you need a little bit more space. But another thing that's kind of unique is that under the floor, you can kind of change the heights, if that makes sense. So you can sort of move it down an inch or two if you need a little bit more room. And like I said before, you get that spare tire under there, but there is still a decent amount of storage to the side of it. So if you want to keep something out of sight, that's kind of nice that you can just sort of tuck it away there. Now, again, moving into the second row, it's pretty comfortable, but really where you're going to want to be is in the driver's seat, because I'm having fun driving this car. I didn't think I'd wake up this morning and be like, man, that's going to be a good little shoot around car that just kind of works. You kind of see it on paper. You think the 1.3 liter might not be enough, but it really is. With the turbocharged 3-cylinder, it hits right away. So you've got that instant torque and bite. Yes, it falls off a little bit if you're kind of flooring it or running around, but when was the last time you even floored your vehicle? If you're looking for the great fuel economy and something that you can just kind of put your foot down and move, I mean, this thing is very surprising in a very good way. The other thing that's very surprising is how quiet it is. In this kind of compact SUV segment, most of the cars are going to be pretty noisy on the road. If you're hitting something like these sewer drains, you can see the car bump, and I get no audible noise into the cabin. It's crazy how quiet it was in here. I'm just amazed at how nice and comfortable this is. I mean, if you told me I just hopped in, I would think I was in a kind of mid-size or almost full-size SUV, the way that it's really smooth, quiet, and compliant on the road. And the handling is more fun. I think this is a more fun vehicle to drive than the larger Enclave or looking at the Envision. The other thing that's really nice is parking is so easy because it is so small. That little wheelbase, you can just kind of whip in and out of parking spots. And this one also gets the tech package. So you get that full 360 view camera. That is so cool. When you put it in reverse, you also do get parking sensors that will pull up on your kind of infotainment or digital gauge cluster here. And then the other side, there's like 20 different views you can go through to look at all the stuff around you. Maybe if the kids left some stuff in the driveway, trying to see if you're kind of backing up at like a busy grocery store. There's a lot of different ways to check everything out around you, which I definitely like. And what's really cool, you can go into the main home screen here and then just click the camera button, and then that would pull it up when I think you're gonna have to be going pretty slowly or stop, but that's a pretty nice feature too. Now, speaking of the infotainment screen, this one does get the Apple CarPlay as well as the Android Auto, which is really nice. So that kind of makes it, I guess, a little bit less that we want to be on our phones when we're on the go. I know it's really hard to put the phone down sometimes, but having the Apple CarPlay, and this also gets voice controls, so I can click and hold and that will pull up Siri. So if you're a Siri user, that's pretty nice. And there's also a ton of safety built into these little cars. This one, especially with the added package, blind spot monitoring, you also get the adaptive cruise control. So you can set that 3, 2, 1 distance ahead of you with the vehicle. It will keep that distance when you're on the road. It makes up eating up a bunch of miles really pretty simple. There's a few other pretty cool things, like the key fob actually has a remote start, so you can program it to kick on the heated seats when you actually fire up the vehicle. When that winter starts to come back around, you're definitely going to be glad you have that. So that's cool. I think it'll run for about 10 minutes, get everything nice and toasty for you. And these seats are actually really comfortable too. I keep saying that I'm blown away with this little car, but for something that starts under $30,000, there's a ton of luxury and pretty cool tech in here. So these seats, that's kind of a cloth and leather mix, but it kind of works together nicely. There's a good amount of bolster on the side. My seat is actually power as well with lumbar, but then it's just going to be a manual seat for the passenger. But I think you could eat up a bunch of miles in here, getting almost 30 miles to the gallon, plus, just having that safety and the tech in the vehicle, and the radio is really good too. I had some music going earlier. I was listening to some podcasts. I was like, man, for the preferred, and it only goes up from here, this is a pretty great little machine. Now, back to the digital gauge cluster and kind of the infotainment screen here. I believe it's an 11-inch and an 8-inch screen. So the 8-inch one is just going to give you really your pertinent information, but you can actually take things from the infotainment screen, like your trip information, and then click to show them in the cluster. And then you can just click again if you don't want them over there to move it back. So if you're trying to keep track of something, some of the gauges or trip stuff, that's a pretty cool way that it's going to be right in your line of sight. But then having the CarPlay, the screen's also really responsive too. There's almost no lag in the screen. You can swipe back and forth, get to what you're looking for. So that's pretty nice as well. I think I'm really kind of talking myself into, why don't I drive one of these? I like the tech. I like the way it looks on the outside. I definitely like the fuel economy because, there's just a lot of ease of use of this vehicle. And really, like I keep saying, 95% of the time, if it's you in the car, you're buzzing around, you got the kids, the family, maybe you don't need a giant SUV that gets 12 miles to the gallon. Maybe you just need a little shooter like this to get you back and forth to what you're doing. And, they've been pretty reliable as well. These little Buick Encores have been around for a while. They're simple, they work, they look good. That's kind of all you really need, right? But Pricing wise, like I said, they start around maybe the $27,000 price range. This one has that tech pack in it as the preferred with the all-wheel drive. So I think MSRP is going to be right around the $32,000 price range. And I mean, not to mention, even with Walser, we offer an 8-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. That means you can be on the road for many years to come and really have a peace of mind that you're just going to be doing your standard maintenance and not worrying about a thing. Now, $30,000 SUVs are tough these days. It's a lot of pretty competitive vehicles in this segment, so getting something that has luxury, tech, safety, and I think it looks pretty good on the outside, I think if you're shopping maybe Honda, Mazda, or Toyota, and maybe you never even considered the Buick Encore, I think this is definitely one to add to the list to come out, take for a spin, and see what you think. Now that was just a quick look and drive at the 26 Buick Encore GX. Now if you have any other questions or you'd like to schedule a test drive, you can visit us online at walser.com or stop by anytime. We'd be more than happy to help. Thanks again for watching.